Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my sketchbook. I don't know about the rest of you. Maybe you have. Maybe you haven't yet. On Saturday evening, I went to see Supergirl. That would be at 10:05 p.m. Uh, Long and short of it, I like this movie. Was I getting everything that I expected? I think so. Before I get into a doodle, I just want to go back in time and show you something that I drew. So I drew this picture of Gonzo as Star-Lord. And here you have Star-Lord wearing kind of like a long coat, not really a trench coat, but maybe a little bit like that, with headphones, listening to something. In his case, he would be listening to a cassette. Supergirl, without giving anything away, although I'm sure you'd see it in the trailer, also wears headphones and seems to be listening to something and wearing a trench coat. I'm not trying to make any true comparisons beyond that. Let's see if we can get started on a doodle here anyway. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit before I put ink on paper. Let's go right about here. All right. So, what sort of things can I ramble on about? Ooh, I made a mark there before I was really gung-ho on getting something. Well, let's try to do something with that. Something that I think is interesting is I think every person deserves to have a voice. I think you should be allowed to voice an opinion. Some say that's like a tribute of freedom of speech or something like that. But I think freedom of speech, there's a privilege, I guess, in having such a thing. And then there is consequences for what you say. And I don't know if it's fair to rip a person apart, especially for how they look. I think it's kind of a miserable thing, especially if it's something they just can't change about themselves. And I'm just not a fan of that sort of thing. I think it's a horrifying way to treat another person. So I don't understand the bullying that this human being has been getting. It's been kind of disgusting, actually. Anyway, I'm not going to go into great detail about that. I don't really understand it, truth be told. So yes, I think you deserve to have an opinion about something if you like something, if you don't like something. But I think the attacks on someone's appearance to me just seems gross. That's not coming from like a place of being woke. I just I don't really understand why people think that's great. But and I think I talked about this in a previous video. I think negative reviews get views, and I think that's why they do it. The bullying aspect of some of these reviews. Anyway, it's just gross. Something that I'm a big fan of is when someone can get hold of source material and maybe go with a little bit of what something would feel like from that source material. Now, I'm also a big fan of like original stories, if that can happen. Think of like, well, I think I might have mentioned something like this and another thing too. You'd have someone like Stephen King, who's a fantastic, prolific writer, but not everything that he's done will probably be made into a movie or a TV show. And that's okay, I suppose. A lot of those stories, uh, they can play in your brain so much better, I think, than what someone could possibly come up with. But is it fair for me to say that? Maybe not. There's a great possibility that somebody will be able to do something justice when it comes to some of the stories that I love. So, an example of that might be, well, if you've seen Lord of the Rings, for example, I don't fully expect, and I kind of hope not, that somebody will do a remake of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. It's possible that that could happen. Uh, could it be better? Well, it could be better. Um, but I don't know. So I guess we just have to see if that would ever come about. Uh, what more rambling can I do? Oh, in regards to this movie. So here's another little sort of honest take on Supergirl and what I kind of wanted out of this movie. So, if you've seen the trailer, you would have seen that LoBO is in this. I don't really understand LoBO's appearance in the movie. It's cool to see him on the big screen. That's a strange thing for me. Um, he's kind of an anti-hero, but he he doesn't go out of his way to do really nice things, if that makes sense. And Supergirl is more of a reluctant hero. So if you're familiar with how Kryptonians uh, get their power, they are reliant on this power from a yellow sun. And one of the things that makes uh, it unbearable for, well, Kara is that she ends up feeling everything. And that's a heavy burden. So you can kind of like drown out, I suppose, some of the things that uh, might float inside your head. But when you can hear the voices of people that need help, when you can feel something as wonderful as a gentle, warm breeze or the heat of the sun, even if it isn't affecting you, you feel everything. And that's a weird part of the power that you probably don't get a whole lot of information about. At least that's what I recall from the comics, anyway. Uh, so you'd probably want to get away from that every so often because feeling everything is a misery. So, anyway, not that I don't want to give away anything. I'm not somebody who makes spoilers or whatnot. I think this kind of looks like the actress a little bit. Um, anyway, I think she's wearing a blondie shirt. But what other kind of cool thing? Something that's kind of popular in uh, the lore of those shows, whether you're in Metropolis or you're in Star City, mostly in Star City, I would think, than Metropolis. You'd have the opportunity to eat big belly burgers and or drink. I think it's Jitters coffee. It's like a coffee shop that the Flash would go to in Star City. Uh, hmm. Just trying to think of what I want to put on that shirt. Let's go with a little more zany hair. So yeah, I like this movie. I don't know if I can recommend it for like little kids. It is PG. Um, yeah, 'cause it is pretty violent. And there are some themes in it that are also violent. I think for fun, let's kind of work in a little bit of the uniform, but not exactly the super suit. Mainly because I don't know if I perfectly remember the new version of it, but I'm going to try. It has the House of L on it, but I think it kind of stylizes a little bit. So almost like a band. Let's see. Oh, and here's something else. I do think it's interesting that they had some leftover fabric from the original Superman cape. They probably had tons and tons of this stuff, but you know they probably archive certain things and uh, well, yeah, I'm sure that they would have a bunch of it. Uh, I did want to possibly put the headphones here, but I have like glasses here. No need of putting them on, maybe. I guess I could. I mean, I'm holding the pen, right? I can kind of do what I want, but I didn't ink that beforehand. Uh, let's try that. Now, I'm trying to remember if it goes backwards or forward, or if we should just go with around the neck. Let's go kind of around the neck, I think. But Millie did a fantastic job. Um, but yeah, Lobo is kind of a weird character, I think, to kind of show up in the middle of this thing. Uh, just looking for somebody, you know, as a bounty hunter. It's a strange thing. And I mean, I should kind of know this era of. Okay. Now you'd need space. For them to connect. And then it becomes two cords down here. You would have something that would keep it from splitting further. But I do like this version of Supergirl because I think she struggles with the heroics. And yeah, some people, you ever watch like something on TV and somebody rescues uh, a group of people or does something heroic, and anyway, there's something that kind of happens to them after a while where they are not having a good time with whatever is going on. Let's see here. I do want to add a little bit of color to this. Hints of it somehow. Let's go with just a little bit inside here. I'm not going to drag this out too long. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Batman. Probably because I think we all really like Batman. So it'd be nice to know if somehow Batman survives whatever is going on. So I'm just lightly putting in stuff, and I'll probably just kind of blur that in a moment. And I'm not going to add color to the rest of it. I really just want the suit underneath the symbol of the House of L to kind of poke through. Now, let's go with a little bit of this red. But yeah, getting back to the extreme negativity. Yeah, I don't understand it. Like, how can you find a way to personally attack people for having an opinion, or just for seeing, like, you know, things a little bit differently than you? I mean, do you think you can change their mind by making personal attacks? I don't get it. I think it's okay to disagree with people too. But my goodness, the attacks. Especially on something like, you know, keep this in mind. If you're going to bring up something about somebody, consider if they can change that thing, let's say by end of day, by end of week. Like if you put on a shirt that you think is really nice and people tell you, well, it turns out it's pretty ugly, you can change that shirt. But making fun of somebody's, you know, face, their body, like if they can't just change that, then you probably shouldn't make fun of them. And when, yeah, strangers, I don't understand why strangers would do such a thing to somebody if they're unknown to them. It is just gross. So, internet bullies, not a fan of that stuff. Oh, that went a little super runny. Red is very powerful. I'm almost done here. But I enjoyed the movie for what it was. I stuffed popcorn in my face. That was awesome. I always stay through to the end of movies just because I always do, without giving anything away. I didn't see anything at the end of this movie. No special end credit scene. So I think that's going to be it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for hanging out for a minute or so. Yeah, let me know if you saw the movie and if it was fun, or if you've read the comics or any of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, no, I think that's going to be it. Oh, and, well, crypto's in it too. All right. That is it. Ciao for now.